What's going on, world? Y'all, welcome back to the Southern Comfort Podcast. This is the political podcast that gives you the real on what's happening here in politics from a Southern perspective. Of course, I'm Richard McDaniel,
Kevin Harris.
and we call ourselves the boys of Maroon Bison. Kevin and I are two HBCU grads. Of course, I went to Morehouse College, and Kevin went to Howard University, and we have about 40 years combined of political experience. Kevin about, what would you say, Kevin? Over 100 campaigns worked
Easily,
easily.
easily,
Um,
easily.
but we've probably
Stop counting.
stopped, well, we've been
Yeah.
entrenched. We've either advised, produced uh, strategy memos or plans for, from the White House to City Hall. We're just trying to give you, our experience and thoughts of what we're seeing right now going on. Try to bring a little history into it. It's funny, Kevin. Um, my niece and my wife love Grey's Anatomy. And I've
Mm,
watched a few episodes, and the countless line they always say is, "This is a teaching hospital." Well, this is a teaching
mm,
podcast, goddamn it! And so,
mm-hmm.
we're here just to bring you, bring you some insight, educate you a little bit on what we know, what we see. Of course, all from a southerner's perspective, and so welcome, guys. Thank you for joining. If this is your first time, if you caught on a few episodes, I encourage you to dial it back. We're on the 25th episode, and really gonna jump right into it, right? Because some may call it a Texas two-step, some may call it Texas
Texas
Hold'em.
Hold'em or
you know,
Illinois Hold'em.
Illinois. Right now. They're just playing games. And of course, if you have been living under a rock or you just are not really paying attention, what we're talking about is what's going on in Texas. Um, real talk, like we got a little showdown going on. It's called gerrymandering. And so, Kevin, I found this out after we kind of talked and said we wanted to hop in and talk about this because it's just really important in this political drama that we got going on. Uh, the name gerrymander comes from a Massachusetts governor back in 1812,
Mm.
Governor Eldridge Gerry, who drew a weird shaped district map that looked like a salamander. So I kid you not, the local newspaper said it was gerrymander.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, 1812, you're roughly looking about 200 years. This has been going on and it happened in 200 years. So, I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
brings, nothing new under the sun, brings a new term to nothing new under the sun, right?
Yeah, and we gotta, break it down for people. So when we talk about the maps, we're talking about your congressional district. So if you ever want to know how did you end up in the district that you live in, um, those maps have to be drawn, and the maps are drawn based on population. So each congressional district, I want to say, has roughly 500,000 people in it. Um, and so they take the population of a state, they divide it all up, until everybody's covered. And then that's how your congressional district is determined. And usually they do it every 10 years because it's based on the
On the
census.
census, right?
And usually it's the governor and the legislature that draws the districts. But it's become controversial for a couple of reasons. One, what's happening right now is they're redrawing the maps in Texas in the middle of a decade, right? We do the census every 10 years. They're just saying, oh, we think we're probably going to lose the House of Representatives next year. So to make sure that that doesn't happen, we're just going to draw new maps now and make sure we put more Republicans than Democrats in all of the districts or more of the districts in Texas. That way, we will have enough Republican seats to keep control of the House. And so what that means is that before any of you have gone to the polls to vote next year, they've already, or at least they're trying to, in Texas, which will have implications for the national election, they're trying to now already predetermine the outcome. It really doesn't matter how many of you vote. The House of Representatives isn't going to flip because we're going to make sure that in Texas, at least, the districts are so Republican that we'll still have enough Republican members to keep the House of Representatives. And so um, it's controversial for that reason, but it also highlights the tension, right?
Hmm.
Where people say um, politicians shouldn't pick their voters. Politicians shouldn't be picking whether it's Democrats or Republicans that live in their district, right? The voters should be picking their politicians. Do they want a Democrat or Republican or neither to represent them? And so what they're doing in Texas is making sure that the system is rigged. And when we say things like rigged, it's we're in such a time of misinformation that that word gets thrown around a lot, but this is legitimately just rigging things right before folks' very eyes. And so what's happening now in Texas is the Democrats there, right? There's a weird clause in the Texas Constitution where if they don't have a quorum and enough members present, then they can't move forward.
So before
And
you
so, yeah.
before you jump into that, I kind of want to, kind of break it down for folks so they can it's easily understood the best way possible. And I was thinking about this. Let's talk about if it's like a pickup basketball game, right? And you got 10 players, and six of the players are damn good, and four of the players suck. All right. So there's two methods. There's packing, where you take all four weak ass players and you put them on one team, right? So the stronger players control all the other teams. So that team is destined to lose. And then you have cracking, where you can take those same four weak players and split them up to different teams so they'll never, be enough to compete. That's what we have going on here, right? They are trying to, like how you said, pack it to where they have total control in Congress,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
By redrawing the
Yep.
districts. So
Yep.
currently, Texas has 38 congressional seats. Republicans hold 25 of those. The Democrats hold 13 of those. The new plan would flip five of those Democratic seats to Republicans. And they're targeting, of course, areas of Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and they're all border districts, right?
Yep.
And those areas are the areas where you have majority minority populations.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that means that again, the people that are that are most disproportionately impacted and that are disenfranchised by this are going to be black and brown.
Black and brown.
And what they're going to do is they would essentially lock you into a district where it doesn't matter how much you vote or how hard you try, how hard you push, you're going to be represented by a Republican who more often than not is voting against your interest and does not share your values. And so, what the Democrats in Texas are trying to do to stop that is if they don't have a quorum in the state legislature,
Hmm.
then they can't move forward with the plan. And so, a number of Texas Democrats have secretly, not so secretly, rather, but they have left the state
Yeah.
and gone to other states. They've gone to Illinois, they've gone to New York, because then they are out of the reach of the governor. He cannot send troopers to apprehend them and force them to come back to the Capitol if they're in another state. So they fled to blue states and they're just hiding out, trying to wait this thing out to stop this from going through. And then similarly, you're starting to see Democrats in other blue states like New York and California saying, hey, we're going to back these guys up. So if y'all can redraw y'all map to make it all red, we're going to redraw our maps to make it all blue and offset any advantages that you guys get so that we can have a fair shot at this in the 2026 midterm elections.
And it's funny, U.S. Senator John Cornyn, he has basically asked the FBI to track and hunt these people down, right? And so you got Governor Greg Abbott rolling around, tossing out threats. You're talking about he's going to oust the Democrats. You got Attorney General, the state Attorney General, what's his name? Ken Paxton, his old corrupt ass. He's threatening to declare their seats vacant. You know, they're trying to issue arrest warrants. And it says something where you have the governor, the U.S. senator, and the attorney general all trying to like gang up and hunt down state legislators when this, I guess it clearly says that this is more than just about drawing lines, right?
It is. And when you think about actual crimes and atrocities, right? January 6th, they weren't trying to tell the FBI to go round people up and go find them by any means necessary. But if you speak out and in the interest of working people, black people, brown people, poor people, which is essentially what these Democrats are doing, making sure that those folks are not disenfranchised. Well, then we can't have that. We got to get the FBI involved, and we got to take a tough stand on this. And so, um, the a silver line here, right? As crazy as this is that you are seeing Democrats fight back,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is what people have been saying, and by people, right? We are part of it. You and I are part of people. We've been saying why y'all don't match their energy, and
Not, but
we're
but
seeing that happen.
it's not national Democrats. It's not from national leadership, right?
That's a very important distinction.
Very
It is
important
not.
distinction. It's from people who have been on the ground in the tough fights, who haven't been on the hill, right? You have the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. You have the governor of New York, or was it Hochul, Kathy Hochul?
Kathy Hochul. Yep.
Of course, you got big boy J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois. And I'm wondering if our good brother Wes Moore is going to step in and say something. I'm not. I wouldn't. I'm not. I'm surprised he hasn't already.
Well, we'll see. Now, West ain't got but one seat. It's just one Republican seat in Maryland, but we'll take it. Hey, man, every little bit
Listen,
counts, and he got Andy Harris out there, so nobody would be tripping if West was like, yeah, let's just draw him out of Congress. Like nobody would be tripping about that.
right? And I think Gavin Newsom. Say what you want about him. I was just in California, and I said with a lot of Californians who don't like him, but say what you want about him. He's being very smart about this, right? He's saying, I won't go nuclear on your ass unless you go nuclear in Texas. If Texas does it, I'll bust a move.
Let me just say this about Gavin Newsom. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to take us down a rabbit hole, but I just can't let this go. You said I'm not trying to, he's being very smart, very strategic right now. Man, any dog that chases enough cars, eventually you get a bumper. And he finally got him one.
Listen,
He
man.
got him one.
Listen. No comment. But what's funny is it's crazy because every governor has his little stick. Gavin's doing what he's doing. J.B.
Hmm.
Pritzker said, "Man, I'll pay y'all fines."
He basically did a Suge Knight, like come to death row. If you tired,
Right. So
come to
the
Chicago.
word is for each day that they're gone, it's supposed to be like a $500 fine.
Hmm.
Pritzker was like, cash a check.
Right.
Like
Right.
a
Like
check.
like like whatever.
I got you.
He is legit putting money on their books. Like it's whatever.
And
I put money on y'all
I
books.
love it. I love it.
Hmm.
But again,
Hmm.
here's the question. And here's what's frustrating me. Where are the national Democratic leaders on all of this?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
where is the Schumers? I think Jeffries went down there, but like, where?
Schumer probably somewhere trying to work with the Republic. Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, but where are
Hmm.
they, right? The National Party is continuously, playing catch up instead of leading in the forefront. There's no
Hmm.
coordinated strategy from Washington, and they're letting the state governors show them up. So
Mm-hmm.
my thing is anybody who thinks that they're going to be a candidate come 2028 for the Democrats on the presidential
Mm-hmm.
side, and they
Mm-hmm.
are coming out of Congress, you might want to know that these state government officials may have something to say about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're showing the
Mm-hmm.
moxie that we asked for.
Well, and more importantly than something to say, right? Action, receipts,
Right,
right? Receipts
right.
on what they did and how they stood firm. And when we are in this period where our brand is so bad, and people are looking for us to paint contrast with Republicans. They're looking where we stand. They're looking for results, over rhetoric. You're right. It's the governors that are doing it, and what makes me so proud is that once again, it's coming from the South. So I would say it's twofold. Yes, look to the states, but also stop overlooking the South because we have to navigate these treacherous waters all the time,
Hmm.
whether the president is a Democrat or a Republican, whether Congress is in control of Democrats or Republicans. We have to deal with these environments all the time in the South, right? And we have a number of elected elite leaders who are very nimble and who are very skilled at it. And you're seeing some of that coming to the forefront here in this particular moment, and I think some of that will show in 2028 as well.
Now, this is not the first time that we've seen this, right? It's not the first time
Hmm.
we've seen it in Texas. This happened back in 2021, where they left
Hmm.
for 5 weeks to block some voting restrictions.
Hmm.
And I've actually seen this firsthand in Wisconsin. I think it was about 2010, where
Hmm.
Democrats fled the state during Scott Walker's union busting tactics.
Hmm.
And when I say firsthand, literally, I probably told this story before, but this was February 17th, 2010. And
Hmm.
I know it's February 17th because that was my 25th birthday.
Hmm.
It was funny because I remember saying that I wanted to be surrounded by marble floors by the time I was 25. Bruh, I never thought that, I would be actually sleeping in the state capitol in Wisconsin,
Hmm.
protesting with union members, union leaders, because of
Hmm.
the atrociousness and the crazy situation that Scott Walker was trying to destroy workers' rights in Wisconsin.
Hmm. Hmm.
And believe it or not, my big ass body was the body that slept in front of the Senate chamber doors that night,
Hmm.
just in case they wanted to try to come in and do some things. But the Democrats had fled the state and they went to Illinois um, to sit out and hide out. They hid out in Champaign, Illinois. But I remember that some union leader was like, "You big guy, come here. I want you to lay right here and don't let nobody get past you." And I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, okay."
Hmm.
But man, right, just to see that scene of thousands of people and at the state capitol protesting it,
Hmm.
show me what
Hmm.
democracy looks like. This is what I mean. It was probably the greatest month that I've ever had in my life, and I'm thankful for that. But you
Hmm.
know,
Did y'all defile the building?
no, of course not.
No.
What?
Did you hurt any law enforcement?
Oh no, never.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
We
The
had
difference is there.
beer and brats the
Mm,
Wisconsin way, baby.
mm.
You know what I'm
Imagine
saying?
that.
Imagine that. If anything,
Imagine
I
that.
dropped some mustard on the floor.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's about it.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
about it. But I mean, it was great. And so you look at this, and we're gonna wonder how far is this gonna go, right? Like it is August recess. People are back in their districts, so it's interesting to see what I was about to say Jasmine Sullivan. um,
Her too. We need them all.
what's Crockett gonna do? What's Al Green gonna do? Right? Like,
Well, Crockett is on a tour now. Speaking out, right? Like she's been ready to go out there and really take a message directly to people. Like we've been advocating for leadership in the party to do. And you see people like her trying to step into this void that really is a void that exists with national um, Democrats, right? Like you were saying earlier, right? Like what is our legislative agenda, right? Like we keep getting these opportunities, we keep getting these situations where Republicans overreach, where their policies are unpopular and not really what people want, but we're still not articulating what we want to do different. We're still just saying no, which is good. That's part of it. But then there's an equally important part, which is, well, what are you guys offering as an alternative? It can't just be this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Well, then tell us how to make it good.
Now, a lot of people are going to ask, well, how is this even possible? Well, we had a shield at one point, and that shield got broken. And of course, I'm talking about the 1965 passage of the Voting Rights Act, right?
Right,
Right. And this
right.
came, and I think about my good friend and mentor, Congressman John Lewis, and all that he did, in those efforts to get that Voting Rights Act passed. But basically, um, in 2003, the Supreme Court gutted it with the Shelby County decision, which basically just told folks like, "Now y'all good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
You didn't need any support when it came to racial discrimination in situations like this. Basically, the
Mm-hmm.
Voting Rights Act is like I talked about a basketball game earlier. The Voting Rights Act is like having a referee in the game,
Yeah.
and the Supreme Court basically said, y'all don't need a referee anymore.
That's
And
right.
now look what's happening.
That's right. Basically, we had a black president. America's, racism's over. You guys are fine. But you talking about what they call the pre-clearance provision. So they didn't, fortunately, they didn't strike down the whole law, but they definitely took some vital organs out of it. And what pre-clearance was is that these states would draw these maps that we were just talking about, and those maps would have to be reviewed by the Justice Department. And if it was determined by the Justice Department that these laws disenfranchised communities, then the legislature would have to redraw them, and so that they are approved. And this used to be bipartisan, right? Like we had this act was reauthorized under Bush,
Hmm.
right? It used to just not be a thing that we mess with. But again, we've gotten into such extremes now, where even something as simple as people just you know something that should just be pretty routine for government isn't anymore. So that without that pre-clearance provision, folks have just gotten bolder and bolder and bolder in their pursuit of ultimately just trying to disenfranchise people.
Right. And so in this Texas legal strategy, we talked about it before, right? They're going after black and brown communities. Well, the Republicans are claiming that they're targeting Democrats, not racial minorities, right? And so 2019 Supreme Court decision said that federal courts can't block, or they can't stop partisan gerrymandering, but courts can still block racial gerrymandering. I think what they're doing in Texas, they're just trying to play word games
Sure,
to try to avoid, Voting Rights Act
sure,
violations.
sure,
They're
sure,
basically
totally.
saying they're basically saying we're not being racist, but we're just being partisan,
We're just being partisan,
right?
right? But who does that partisanship impact? Exactly.
When I say
So,
weak ass, you say
so I mean, but again, I think what people want to see is that like we've been left with no choice, but we have to match their energy, right? And so you're seeing again some of those Democratic governors step up and articulate a vision, right? And this is just what we have to do right now, right? We don't have a choice, right? We can't just sit back and let this happen. But overall, it is bad for our democracy. It is bad for our system. And it really highlights the need for a national version of what you and I helped to do in Virginia. which is you and I worked on a ballot initiative in Virginia together. Uh, what was that, 2020? We did so many. That's what happens when you do a lot of campaigns. You forget
2020.
some and you forget the years. Was it 2020 or 2021 when we did this? Was it seven? No, it wasn't 17. Anyway, the point is,
Oh,
in Virginia,
yeah. I don't even remember when that
in
was.
Virginia, Rich and I helped pass a ballot measure. We were lead strategists to help pass a ballot measure that basically took these decisions out of politicians' hands and made them nonpartisan. And so in Virginia, they just draw maps that make sense. And part of the reason for that is because there's not politics involved, right? Um, you don't have, again, like we said earlier, the politicians, like what's happening in Texas is the politicians want to be able to pick all the people that vote for them, and who live in their districts instead of the people picking their politicians. And so now in Virginia, they have fair maps. They have maps that make sense, and they're not drawn with an eye toward politics or gerrymandering or anything. And that's really the way it should be everywhere, right? And so again, that leadership, where did it come from?
South.
Came from the South, and you and I got to be a part of that. But you know, I'm happy to see Democrats, fighting back and matching the energy, but at the same time, it makes me sad, right? This is another deterioration of our democracy, right? Well, if they're gonna just kind of make up rules, and we're just gonna kind of make up rules, and that just keeps us teetering, man, toward some not good
Well, I
places
mean,
as a country.
like you said, Virginia shows what happens when politicians decide to do things the right way instead of just trying to
Right,
win, right?
right,
And
right.
what did that fair maps create for it? It got more competitive districts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Better representation for communities.
Mm-hmm.
It got less extreme partisan outcomes, right? Right, and
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's what we want. We want it just to be fair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what though? And we have to, you and I, we have to be honest. We have to talk about the other side of all of this. With these gerrymandered maps, a benefit of them, some would argue, is you got more opportunities for black people to be in Congress because they would just draw black seats.
Hmm.
And so when you think of a state like Mississippi, where the only Democratic seat is Benny Thompson, and that just happens to be where all the black people live, because that's how they drew it. They drew it that way to make sure that the Democrats finally got a seat, that the black people finally got a seat. Um, but what that did, though, is yes, it gave us Benny Thompson. Yes, it gave us Clyburn in South Carolina. Yes, it gave us Terry Sewell in Alabama. But what it also did, though, is it made the rest of the districts more red, and less moderate, which means that they can be more extreme. And so, one of the things we do have to talk about is, whether or not that still makes sense. We have to acknowledge that, right? Like, does that still make sense when you have had a black president, when you do have a Raphael Warnock that is a senator, when you have, I think, about 10 black caucus members who represent districts that are not majority black? They're not. So, and you have black Republicans. You have Tim Scott, right? As an example, statewide elected official. So, do you need, on the flip side of that, do you need these special districts anymore, that are kind of carved out for black people
Well,
and brown people, but mostly black people in the South?
well, I think across the board, we just need to take a hard look at how we still do things when it comes to governing. It is
Mm-hmm.
very archaic. It is, right? I mean, you got people like Schumer still trying to lead the Senate as if, it's,
Is
19.
he trying to lead it?
Well, you have you have Chucky Boy
Mm,
still, playing marbles in the Senate like he is adolescents growing up in the streets of Brooklyn.
Mm, you know,
Hopscotch, anyone?
I mean, he just, I just, yeah, anyway, nothing anyway. Nothing's been come out of that. But we, you know, we like we said, we always try to give people the real here. That's the other flip side of this too. That's one of the things that came from this process that we have is some of our leaders in Washington that do lead, like a Clyburn, like a Benny Thompson,
Hmm.
that do get results, that do get things done. That's not playing marbles, like you just said. Some of the reason that they even have a seat to be there is because of some of these same rules, right? And so,
Well, I
um,
think Clyburn and Benny probably be playing pinochle or
whatever. But you know what though? Uh, but when it's time to clap back and stand up, they do it, and they've been
yeah,
doing it.
yeah,
And we got to be real about how they got there too.
yeah.
They got there too based on some of these same rules, and so it puts us as a community in a weird place because on the one hand, there's dangers in what's happening in Texas, but on the other hand, there's some
But
advancements that
bro,
happen for
but
us too.
here's the thing, bro. When can you say has been the last time Democrats have benefited by bending the rules to their arc?
The last time we've benefited by bending the rules. I mean, we do anytime we do a reconciliation bill. I mean, Republicans do it too, but like some of the biggest accomplishments that have helped people here recently came from reconciliation. Reconciliation is just bending Senate rules to pass bills that otherwise would never get through because you don't have a majority.
Yeah, I give you. Yeah, I give
So
you
we
that.
do it. We do it. So but don't they're gonna come back though to that. Everything I just said though, like they're gonna come back to things I just said. Like, well, you got 10 CBC districts that are not majority people of color districts. You got black senators. We've had a black president. We don't need these special things, but some of what they're doing, right? Like we have those districts in response to being locked out. They're now some of their backlash is because, well, they have special districts. Why can't we have even more special districts for us, right?
Right.
So the point is, gets back to like we're talking about Virginia. You got to get the politicians out of this, right? Politicians shouldn't be doing the census. Politicians shouldn't be doing congressional districts. And you just seeing these attacks on our institutions. Like, I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but like we just saw where, Trump just fired the lady
Mm.
that compiles the economic data for the jobs report. She's just an economist. All she does is compile the data. He didn't like the data that showed no jobs are being created under his administration, and so he fired this woman.
Well,
Fired her.
it ain't also that he didn't like it. He also just don't understand it.
No, he bankrupt businessman.
Right.
Didn't know anything about economy, jobs, or any of it. But you're just seeing these little attacks. You know what I mean? On our institutions. And again, while I'm happy to see Democrats matching energy here, I do acknowledge that long term, man, this is for our country overall. This is a dangerous game of Russian roulette here.
Right. So, and we're coming up to a real fight, right? I think September there needs to be another discussion about the budget,
Yeah,
right? And
they're gonna
so,
have to deal with the budget coming back. Yep.
right, and then you're going to go into the holiday season, but of course, they're still going to talk about what's at stake for 2026. So
Hmm.
let's talk about what's next. Like, there's a real fight ahead.
Hmm.
So where
Hmm.
does all of this end up? Well, same place most political fights do. That's probably going to be in federal courts, right? So there are going
Hmm.
to be legal
Hmm.
challenges coming up. There's going to be,
Hmm.
of course, Voting Rights Act claims. There's going to be constitutional challenges. There's going to be procedural fights on over timing. You're going to have
Hmm.
multiple state court battles. But it's really all about Republicans just trying to lock down House majority before voters can hold Donald Trump accountable, right?
And yep, before voters have had their say. And what you've seen in what they're trying to do federally is what they have unfortunately successfully achieved in a lot of our states here down in the South. They've just created these super majorities, right? Like there's not a viable pathway for Democrats to retake the legislature in Florida. Like they've completely boxed us out. The same is true in Alabama. Georgia looks more promising, right? We got more of an opportunity there, but also Mississippi boxed out. So, Republicans have often, like, that's their playbook, right? Like they experiment in the states and then they take that federally, and that's what they're trying to do here. Democrats, we've not been the same, I feel like, in that way, but maybe this is a shift.
Maybe. I do want and hope that they're careful because this could set a precedent when it comes to permanent redistricting wars.
I know that's what I'm saying about the Russian roulette, right?
Right.
As happy as I am to see them match the energy, um, overall for the country, right? This is not good, right? This is not good for the system. But we don't have any other choice, right? You can't how can you be competitive in a game where you got one team that's playing by the rules and the other one isn't?
I wonder
How are you gonna be competitive
I
doing that?
I wonder is there going to be anybody that tries to introduce uh, a mid-decade ban on redistricting nationwide?
Well, but okay, so that's a very good point, right? So while we're out resisting now what they're doing, well then if that's the policy, then articulate that. Let people know, hey, if you put us back in power, this is what we're going to do. We're not saying that in these opportunities that we're getting. We're doing every now and again we do a good enough job of just saying no, but we never follow that up with why what we're for,
And what we're going to
right?
do when
And
we get back in power?
if that's what you want to do, if that's what you want to ban it, if that's a good idea, then do that. On this one, you could do something similar to what you and I have passed in Virginia. You can have a national redistricting commission
Hmm.
that is nonpartisan that does this.
Right, right,
That can be law.
right.
That can be policy. So say that that's what we'll do then, Schumer.
Or set some anti-gerrymandering standards.
Sure.
Right.
Right. Look at that Supreme Court ruling around pre-clearance and write some new language.
Again, people, this is a teaching podcast, and what we want you to know is that Congress has constitutional power to override federal. They have constitutional power over federal elections, and so
They do.
again, what me and Kevin just talked about three things that they could do right now. One, a mid-decade banning on redistricting nationwide. What do you say? Require independent commission,
A national redistricting commission.
right?
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
set some anti-gerrymandering standards, right? Three things
Sure.
that you could say, look, these are three things that we're going to do, kind of like Nancy's, was it 646?
Oh, six back in oh six.
Right.
Yeah. She had her 6 areas and she told you exactly what she would do and then she did it. And that's why she's a goat. Look at that. Mean what you say, do what you say. What does it mean what you say, do what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If only that were true with our people. I think Texas Republicans are trying to rig the system. Democrats are finally fighting back, which is great.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we're heading for another nationwide redistricting war. Um, but yet, it is the public, it is voters, it is citizens who are still suffering at at the grocery stores, when they're buying certain goods and services. When we're talking about healthcare, when we're talking about things that we need to be getting back to governing and supporting and making our lives easier, we're playing these political games, all for
Hmm.
political theater, right?
Hmm. 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 Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
And it
unfortunate.
has real impact. It's unfortunate, and It has real, because it's not just, oh, they're locking you out of the system. Well, when they lock you out of the system, they have more power to do things that are not in your interest. And so it's not just that they're silencing your voice. It's beyond that. They are not only taking away your voice, but they're doing it to, essentially step on your voice to do things that are not in your interest. Because again, think about it. If their policies were popular, right, they wouldn't need to rig the system to win. They wouldn't be worried about it. Why would they? Why they worried about the election is next year, November 2000. Why y'all got this elaborate plan a whole year out, right? If as Trump says, there's so much winning that's going on, then why do you need to
Well,
cheat?
they're scared.
Because they know.
Yeah,
Because they know.
yeah.
If we let this thing actually just play out and let people really have a choice, after we've cut their Medicaid, after we talked all this stuff about inflation, but we haven't done anything to bring it down. Um, you know, um, you know, After they have, you know, put ICE agents, right, in all these major cities and stuff like that, all these things that not just make Democrats uncomfortable, but if you look at the data, a broad swath of Americans are uncomfortable with a lot of these things. And even folks who voted for Trump are saying that this is not what they voted for. But they know that if they just let people have a choice after what they've done, they know they would lose. And so that's why they're trying to cheat you now. And it goes beyond. Texas is just the current front in the battle, right? But this has implications for the entire country, and everybody should be paying attention.
Sometimes you have to walk away to make a stand. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Texas Democrats are right, and I commend them for what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see over the next, I'll probably say, 2 or 3 weeks how this turns out.
Yeah.
Real leadership comes from results, right? Not from tweets
Yep.
or sound bites.
Yep.
And
Yep.
hopefully we can see this come to an amicable ending. Probably won't. You got Abbott rolling around here talking that bullshit.
Mm.
But I digress. It's just interesting from Selma to Austin. Uh, we've always been on the front lines of democracy in the South, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to change. We've seen this before. We've seen these tactics. We've seen these antics. Again, once again, the South is going to lead in the forefront of how things should get done.
Yeah, we are. The South is showing leadership, and I think it's safe to say that our Mamba moment is for the Texas Democrats.
Yeah, I give it to them. How many fled the state? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't have that number top of mind, but enough to where they can't get quorum.
Well, hats off to them. They are steadfast. They understand what's at stake, and we know we appreciate their strategic courage, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
While there are national Democrats in like a leadership vacuum right now,
Hmm.
they are steadfast and strong in what they do, and definitely support them. Um, I just, I think about John Lewis. I don't know why, but I think about his real world impact on democracy and leaders like
Hmm.
him and Reverend
Hmm.
Lowry and Dr. King and so
Hmm.
many others, right? And so
Hmm. Hmm.
C.T. Vivian, my brother C.T. Vivian, who I cannot forget.
Hmm. Hmm.
We talk about how far we come since 1965, but
Hmm.
I think we have dialed the knob back on the DeLorean, and it seems like we, are back to the future once again.
Yeah, you always have to keep fighting, right? Or else you lose your game. So hopefully this summons people to fight, and hopefully some of our elected officials, it inspires more courageous acts like what we're seeing in Texas, because you know these guys got families, they got other things that they're also stepping away from. This is at a personal toll on them to stand up. But that's the job. That's what you're elected to do, but not everybody does it. And so I think that when people are doing it, when they are stepping up and speaking out, we gotta acknowledge that too and applaud that. And hopefully, other people take note and come to the table with something as well because we need it.
Well, that's our show for you today. This is the Southern Comfort Podcast. This is a podcast that gives you the real on what's happening in politics, just from a Southern perspective. We are your Maroon Bison boys, the boys of the Maroon Bison. Thank you guys for joining. Remember, hit that like, subscribe, do what you need to do to support our endeavors. We'll be back in studio on the next episode. So, Kel, it would be good to see you. And I got a gift for you, my brother.
I know. I feel like I feel like we're back in COVID since we've been doing these remote. So it'll be good to be back in the studio.
Football's back, baby. Rocking the Atlanta Falcons Outcast hoodie. It's cold. It's
Hoodie.
cold. It's cold in this area. So, bro, I'll see you. I'll catch you. Appreciate you as always.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
Thank y'all.